What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video, I want to talk about Ubisoft and 2025. Feels a little different to make a Ubisoft preview video, but I thought this would be an interesting company to talk about, not just because of games or announcements or, things I think could happen in 2025. Well, really, that second part, right? Well, what could happen with Ubisoft, right? You go through the motions almost with PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, etc., but Ubisoft, a lot can happen. So let's get into kind of what I mean, right? There's the one big release in Assassin's Creed. We'll talk about that. There's announcements and, kind of updates for games I want to bring up. And then there's also like Ubisoft as an entire entity, right? Company. And that's where I think things get interesting. So, in terms of the year, I really think so much rests on Assassin's Creed. And now, look, there's been a lot of controversy. There's been a lot of talk. I've said it before. For me, it's like the newer Assassin's Creed games have never really gotten me. I've tried them. My wife has actually played games like Valhalla and Odyssey much more than I have. But I do like Mirage. I do like Origins. And I think I can get into the more modern Assassin's Creed style. I don't think I like it more than, the older games. But I'm just kind of telling you all this because, there's so much with Shadows, right? With all the controversy, all the drama. And we're not going to really get into it in this video because I've just talked about it before and other stuff. But for me, it's also like, well, will I even like the game when I'm playing it? When they want you to play it for 50 to 100 hours, you're going around doing all this stuff. How's it going to feel? Am I actually going to be all that connected to it? So that's on me, right? Like, will I be super interested in it or not? I am interested in it. I think it is going to be kind of like an event one way or another. But the thing is also in terms of, previewing the year for Ubisoft, what does it do to Ubisoft, right? Because you had so much go wrong for them. Inflicted wounds, I would say, self-inflicted wounds in this past year. Outlaws, I think, hurt them. Skull and Bones, I think, hurt them. Games that they wanted to do well. I think Prince of Persia: Lost Crown is one of the better Ubisoft games they've made in like a decade, and that game didn't really sell. So it's like lose, lose, lose no matter what. So for Assassin's Creed, what do they need this thing to sell? What happens if it sells half as much? What happens if it actually does sell really, really well? It's going to be something, I think, to watch, right? Because if they want this thing to sell 5, 6, 7, 8 million units and it sells 2, that goes into kind of the last part I want to talk about in this video where it's like, does Ubisoft even survive? And that's kind of crazy to say out loud, but it's ultimately like there's so many signs and behind-the-scenes stuff that we heard in 2024. Do they sell? Do they go private? What happens to them as this next year goes, because it could get worse for them, right? Or it could get better. I think it's probably more likely it'll get worse, but we'll see. Okay, so Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed. For me, then there's kind of like that other tier where really all you can do in 2025 besides deliver a good Assassin's Creed game is the potential for the future. You might get like the multiplayer Assassin's Creed by like the fall, but for me it's like, okay, can we hear about Far Cry? Can you Sands of Time remake is supposed to come out in 26, so we're only like a year and a half out. Can you show it? I think you should be able to show like a legitimate trailer, maybe even gameplay at this point. Like, can that help them? It could actually help them, so that's something I think would be interesting. Beyond Good and Evil 2, of course, is like a pipe dream, but maybe they show it. Maybe they actually show Beyond Good and Evil. Splinter Cell is another one that's probably like 26, 27. You could probably show that as well. So those are kind of, I guess those are like 4 I count on my fingers. I mean, like, they have franchises. They do. They rely so much on Assassin's Creed, but they do have other franchises. And really all of them are at a point where you could show / talk about them in 2025. They're not all releasing this year. In fact, maybe none of them release this year, but it could start to help them, right? It could just be something where it's like, okay, maybe they're going to learn. Maybe Splinter Cell will be good. Maybe Sands of Time will be good. Maybe something to look forward to beyond 10 Assassin's Creed games. Those could be good too, but to have something besides Assassin's Creed is another thing. And then really, well, again, it's Ubisoft as a company. Do they survive? Gotta be honest, okay? My own actual prediction is, as we know them right now, they will not be in a year from now. Whether that's going private, whether it's selling, like the majority stake goes, like swaps, off of the family, whatever ends up happening, my prediction is just Ubisoft right now is not what Ubisoft will be in a year. Maybe they sell to Xbox or Microsoft, Sony, something like that. I don't know. I feel like they've tried to sell before and people don't really want them. We'll see what happens, but they need, the first things first, Assassin's Creed's got to be big and it's got to be good. And in order to be big, I think you have to be good, because I think people generally are just so opposed to, and again, like, we're not really here to talk about that, but they have so many people against them, and they just kind of have the stigma to their name that I honestly think even good games get punished under them. And so it's like, okay, well, now you got Assassin's Creed and you're expecting it to do really well. But, I don't know. At the same time, it's like, let's not forget, Mirage, I think, sold pretty okay, but go back further, right? Go to Odyssey and Valhalla. Those games did extremely, extremely well, right? It was not that long ago. Yeah, recent time, they're, looked at very, very poorly, but look, just 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were doing pretty okay with Assassin's Creed, with the sales of Assassin's Creed. Maybe not the future direction. I wasn't really, all that thrilled with it, but, it's something that they could really triple down on, and they are. They literally are following the movements, that they kind of started themselves back like 5, 6 years ago. So I don't know. Maybe it turns this year, and maybe they do super well. Maybe they complete. The thing is, I think it's only one of the two, right? Because like Assassin's Creed either has to be massive, or if it completely crumbles, it's over. Like if Assassin's Creed can't sell for you anymore, what do you have? Well, truly, I mean, I know I listed franchises, but it's kind of like any other company where you need like those slam dunks, right? Like PlayStation, you want those Spider-Mans and God of Wars and Naughty Dog games to do well, and then you can kind of experiment, right, with the other ones, try other stuff out. That's kind of, Ubisoft is like Assassin's Creed, and that's kind of, I mean, like X-Defiant didn't work, right? So you need your big hitters, a couple of them, which they really only have one. Far Cry sells, right? But Far Cry's not out yet. So it's like, okay, now you have to rely on the other ones that you don't normally rely on as much as Assassin's Creed. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. It's going to be an interesting year, I think, for Ubisoft, though. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.